what ends up being the best transfer for a team? Like who performs the best of all of them? Who's the best? The best. Who was the smartest acquisition this offseason?
I think, in my opinion, it's Simon Yates.
I agree with that.
Simon Yates.
Totally agree. That's yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast. Today we're talking about trades and transfers. Cycling is not like any other, or it's not different than any other sport. Well, maybe it is. I mean, certainly individual sports doesn't matter, but team sports, and it's funny, I get this question a lot about cycling, and is it a team sport or an individual sport? I think we all sort of chuckle because we very much know that it's a team sport, but most people don't know. But we're going to talk about trades and transfers, where not all, but a lot of the big riders went, why they went, what did they bring with them, what did they have to trade off, all that good stuff. I am joined, I guess you're in Madrid, Johan. I never know with this graphics work you do. Johan Brunel in Madrid, who, as y'all know, I mean, has his finger on this pulse. I don't know, probably better than anybody else out there. So we got the man to talk about it. And down there in Greenville, South Carolina, Mr. George Hincapie, apparently, by the way, George, you told me they've got these nonstops this weekend from Greenville to Austin in lieu of the Texas Clemson game.
Clemson.
What?
I thought you said Clemson. Clemson.
I did. I said Clemson.
Okay.
Is that not?
Yeah.
How do y'all say it?
We say Clemson.
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 Anyways, what you left out is you're not getting on the nonstop. I mean, this is a great opportunity for you to come down here and hang with your boy.
I know. I thought about it, but historically speaking, every time I send you a message, I don't get a response for like 2 or 3 weeks. So I figured I'd land in Austin and be left hanging for 2 days and then just come right back. So yeah, didn't really pull the trigger.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something. All right. I got a room. The room's guest room is ready. You just come on down with the Tigers of Clemson, whatever they're called. By the way, too, speaking of players, and we are really getting off track here, but the quarterback for Clemson is this kid, Cade Klubnik, right? Now, it'd be interesting for him because he's in Austin. He's a local boy here. He played where my son played, Westlake High School, won a state championship for Westlake High School, was like the 10-star recruit out of high school and went to Clemson. So a bit of a homecoming for him. Just up the road. I used to always go whenever I would go in to my PT guy, Dr. Bob, also right up the road, I would see this kid in there after game day. He was a sweet kid. So I'm a little bit conflicted because I love him and love the way he plays, but you got the horns this weekend.
So you're going to go to the game?
I'm not. No. You know me. I don't, just walking around with 100,000 people. No, I'll not be there. But, and you know why? This is amazing. It's on TV and I can sit in my couch and have my jug right there and my and no, I won't be there.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all the action of the trades and transfers. And of course, we're talking about from the 2024 season to the 2025 season. Jesus Christ, we're going to be a quarter of a century through. I mean, I remember Y2K like it was yesterday. Terrifying. Today's show brought to you by Zwift. So Zwift just released the Zwift Ride, an all-new smart bike that is changing the indoor game and making it easier and more affordable than ever before to get started riding indoors. It is that time of year. Here we are right in the thick of December. Sometimes, you got to be an indoor kitty. Now, y'all know I haven't been a fan of riding indoors, but all the way back in the day, Zwift has changed that for me, and hopefully the Zwift Ride can change it for you. This bike is ultra quiet, super easy to set up, and you just need one tool. That's the frame key. And it just snaps right into the seat post. It adjusts everything, right? Your reach, your bar height, your saddle height. So what does that mean? That means that not only can you ride it, but you, have a buddy come over and ride it. Your wife wants to ride it. It's all totally adjustable. And this adjustability makes the Zwift Ride perfect for everyone in the house at $12.99.99. It is a game changer. Head on over to Zwift.com to check it out. That's Zwift.com to check it out. Also join us on Wednesdays for We Do Wednesdays and Suffer Sundays. It kind of leads me to a question, and Johan, you would know this because there have been, let's just call it talents in the sport of cycling the last few years that were discovered through Zwift and through esports and all this stuff. So I'm just curious if any of these names we bring up sort of popped out of that virtual world. Also today brought to you by Roca. They've just changed the game. Rob and his whole crew. By the way, this is a fun story. Rob Canales, the founder of Roca, his son and my son go to the same high school. They're in the same grade. So I see Rob. It's funny. I see him like up at like schools. Believe it or not, I mean, go to these school things, and I'll run into Rob, and it's just so cool to see him. He's such a great dude. Built a great brand. Sunglasses, I mean, next level. Prescription glasses, my reading glasses, the biggest hit ever. And when I walk around, people say, look, I mean, I literally, check this out. I'm not shitting y'all. George, check this out. This is how many pairs of Roca. Is this weird? This is how many pairs of Roca readers I have on my desk. Check it. It keeps going, dude. Like, they're everywhere. Look, please. Look, boom. Johan, these are the ones you like. Those kind of orangish ones. Yeah. I mean, I just have them everywhere. Yeah.
And I wore my wind down glasses to a Christmas party the other night, and it was the biggest hit of the party.
You were fire, right? You talking about those red ones?
The red ones, yep.
They're rolling off like fucking Elton John, just like Benny.
That's right.
Oh, no telling what else you rolled up with. You know what I'm saying? Reality is unbelievably lightweight, best optics on the market. They never slip no matter how sweaty you get. Not only is Roca working with special forces, they test their stuff with the best athletes around. Totally badass. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roca, ROKA, that's Roca.com. Enter the code THEMOVE at checkout. Also today brought to you by Ketone IQ. You know what? I'm a little sluggish this morning. Little shot of Ketone IQ. Clinically proven to cross the blood-brain barrier. This is the game changer, right? This is the thing when it comes to focus. You hear a lot of, I guess you hear less, but you still hear a lot about brain fog, right? That was kind of a buzzword, a buzz phrase during COVID, but it's still out there. And folks, try this out. Try the Ketone IQ for any kind of brain fog or funk. I really do think it makes a huge difference. I've certainly heard that from many, many people. And also, too, while we're talking about Ketone IQ, I just have to acknowledge, because I've gotten so many questions about this little bitch, Jake Paul. All right. He's just razzing me on the IG the other day, slides into my stories. He's out on a bike ride. I get a lot of questions, too. Why is he on a bike? Well, his girlfriend is a high-level Dutch speed skater. And of course, there's a ton of crossover between speed skating and cycling. So he actually rides quite a lot. And I know I just called him a little bitch, but the reality is I actually like Jake. But I meant what I said. He's been begging for an ass whooping. He better swim in a pool of Ketone IQ before he comes over here and wants to have a little bike race. But folks, is it real? I get a lot of questions. Is it real? Is this going to happen? I've had a lot of comments go, take him down, whoop his ass. I don't know if it's real. I don't know. I hope it is. Right?
I'm coming to watch that if it's happening.
You coming. That would be fun. You should actually train him, George. You could be his full-time trainer. And, this isn't one of these Netflix flops, right? Let's pay a legend to take a fall or to not swing, right? I'm not phoning shit in. I'm coming.
You could be swinging. All right.
I'm swinging. Back to Ketone IQ, 30% off your first subscription order plus a free 6-pack when you use the link ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. Johan, here's a question. Do you even know who Jake? We are really off topic here. Do you know who Jake Paul is?
I do know who Jake Paul is. I didn't know who he was until last year, but when you have a teenage son,
Yeah.
All those Instagrammers. So that's how. But anyway,
he was actually a YouTuber, but we'll call him an Instagrammer.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I do know who he is, and I think it's, of course, there's a lot of show involved, but I think he's a great athlete.
Hey, like I said, I do have a ton of look. I have a lot of respect for what he's built. I mean, people kind of poo-poo it, but hey, and I've been to a fight. I don't know if I ever mentioned this on a previous show. Luke and I went to his fight when he fought Nate Diaz. And he's this is what we were talking on the pre-show. Like I hope everybody's real clear. This is a bike race, because I'm not getting in the ring with that dude. There's no way. Y'all just have to find a different guy to be on the podcast. I would never be the same. So let's talk about trades and transfers. Johan, you have it there in your backdrop, right? You got sort of the four big ones that stand out, and maybe there's an asterisk there with Julian Alaphilippe, but just high level, what stands out the most for you?
Well, I think there's different ways to look at it. If you look at all the buzz that has been going on, I think Pidcock is obviously the story because of his profile as a rider, because of all the drama that has been around it. But I think the three others, if you look at Simon Yates, Ben O'Connor, and Mark Hirschi, and Julian Alaphilippe at the same time, those are incredible transfers, mainly O'Connor and Simon Yates, because they go to teams that are on the World Tour. If you look at Pidcock and Hirschi, they go to pro teams, which are not World Tour level. And I think Simon Yates is an interesting one, because it looks like Visma has been copying a little bit, what Adam Yates is doing for Pogacar. They want Simon Yates to do for Jonas. So I think that's really, for me, that's the transfer of the year, the most interesting one on a level.
Yeah, these are, and Johan, correct me if I'm wrong, these are top 10 biggest names in cycling for those guys for the most part that you just mentioned. Usually when you see transfers of that stature, they're bringing two or three guys along with them, but all these guys just went along solo. Can you comment on why do you see that happening?
Well, yes. I don't think O'Connor is a leader of the stature of saying, okay, I want to bring my entourage. And then Hirschi wanted to leave UAE. So, he was greatly paid there. He was, let's not forget, Hirschi is number 6 in the world.
Yeah.
And O'Connor is number 4 in the world, if you look at the CI rankings. But it's true that you see less and less people moving teams and bringing 2-3 riders plus some staff. I think Pidcock probably brings some staff, but no riders. And that's probably a trend that's going on now, that the teams are basically already, fully occupied, and these guys went on their own. It's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, and would it also not be true that these teams have really leveled up? I mean, we talk a lot about the just how competitive /fit /amazing the entire peloton is, but you have to imagine on the staffing side, whether it's a chiropractor, a chef, a mechanic, a soigneur, a trainer, a doctor, like these teams, this is not the old days anymore. So these are much more professionalized and stood up, and they really, this feels like, it's a la F1 or Premier League or something like that they don't have to worry so much about that. They know that if they're going to go to another team, that they've got the right infrastructure.
It's still, I think it's still unique, very unique. A guy like Tom Pidcock has been on the same team his whole career. I mean, you establish a bond with one or two guys, definitely one or two staff that you have the utmost confidence in. Lance, you had your guys. We saw Sagan brought like 5 to 7 people to his new teams. I mean, it's definitely something that we haven't seen in a while, where these guys don't bring somebody along with them. I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, I think Pidcock brings some people with him. His coach / director is a Belgian guy. Kurt Bogaerts is going from Ineos to because he's like the guy in charge of Pidcock's whole program, not just the road, but also cyclocross and mountain biking. And I would expect that probably a mechanic or something also goes with Pidcock. just for the fact he rides all those different bikes. So, with all due respect, I think a team like Q36.5 is still able to improve on better stuff, whereas at the World Tour level, that's probably not the case anymore.
Yeah, and he goes to a team like Q36.5 that I'm looking down the roster here. There isn't some huge standouts, but at the same time, when a guy like Pidcock goes to a team like this, I mean, they're all in for somebody like that. I mean, there's not going to be questions of who's the leader in some of these one-day races, and it'll really help elevate, I believe, the level of the squad, that they have a set plan for these races going in. They have a set leader. So I think we'll see a lot of these guys jump up a few notches in terms of their level.
And also, if you look at Q36.5 in particular, so I would assume that Pidcock's contract is a three-year deal. Nowadays, these guys don't sign for anything less than 3 years. I think it's also looking at the future, because a team like Q36.5, it must be quite challenging to attract talent, because there's so many other good teams there. Now with the figure of Pidcock there, it's going to make things easier
for sure.
In the future, for when they have to hire new riders for the next coming 2 years, these riders are going to be more attracted to go to that team, because you have a strong leader who can win races.
Well, and not only that, but we talk about Lance, you're good friends with the owner of the team. He's highly invested in cycling. I mean, highly invested. So you would think this is a very long-term project with the brands that he's purchased, the team that he has. I think that has a lot to do with a guy like Pidcock going to somebody like that is most likely going to be in the sport for a long time.
Well, I agree with all these things. I mean, I think it's you without naming names, and I don't know how comfortable I almost said his name. I don't know how comfortable people are with their names being out there, but it's a stake in the ground, right? Yeah. You're saying, look, we're here to play, and this is our first move, not our only move. And now there is more and more an influx of money coming into the sport of cycling. And I do want to get to this part of the conversation, because I'm just always fascinated and curious about the financial part of some of these transfers, what guys are making these days. But we've seen the influx of UAE, Bahrain. There's talk of the Saudis leaning into cycling like they did with golf. And the fellow that we're referencing, boy, y'all better rattle the piggy bank. Because yes, my buddy, he's very passionate about the sport. I don't think this is one and done. I think he wants to make his presence felt, and certainly to your point, George, help amplify the brands that he has bought. So it's good. It's great. It's great.
And now, is this the first time in the history of cycling that a cycling clothing manufacturer is the actual main sponsor of the team? I know we've had clothing manufacturers before, but I don't know, perhaps.
You had a professional cycling team.
Yeah, we had BMC.
So it's the second time.
Well, yeah.
Well, you had your team.
Yeah, we were in a World Tour.
Technically,
but yeah, correct.
And just real quick, by Johan, by signing a Tom Pidcock, and I just want to be totally clear on this. And so for Q36.5, and again, y'all know I don't know all these things, but races like Milan-San Remo, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Flèche-Wallonne, these are guaranteed entries or hopeful entries?
They're not guarantees. So the difference is that there's wild cards. So Q36.5 is in the pool that needs a wild card. There's the 18 World Tour teams who have guarantees, and then for the one day races, I think it's 25 teams. So with Pidcock, any race that they want to race with Pidcock, they're going to get in for sure. For the Grand Tours, it's different, right? You have the 18 World Tour teams, then you have the two teams that are first and second on the pro team level. That's Lotto and Israel, so that's 20. And then there's two wild cards left. So my guess, I'm gonna say a guess. It's a prediction. Is that Q36.5 is gonna get a wild card for the Giro, together with, in my opinion, Uno X. And since Lotto has decided that they forfeiting their Giro, they don't want to participate. There's going to be an extra Italian team. One of the they always change names, so I don't really know what it is. And for the Tour, it's the same thing. It's going to be the 18 World Tour teams, Lotto and Israel, and then, in my opinion, Total Energies for sure, and Tudor, who made the big move with Hirschi and Julian Alaphilippe. Those are going to be the wild cards for the Grand Tours. But in the case of Q36.5, I think they make a great move with Pidcock, all the one-day classics that he wants to participate in: Milan-San Remo, Flanders, Amstel, Liège. They're getting in.
So, Johan, talk about this a little bit, because I was in a similar situation when I signed with Team BMC. It was what was it then? A pro continental team, not a world tour team, no guaranteed invites to Grand Tours. But there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, especially this time of year where there's whining and dining of different organizers. And what's the process now? Is it the UCI's involved, or is it simply the organizers? And I'm sure these teams, before they make these huge investments, they have some indication of their race schedule moving forward.
Yeah, but it's a lot based on lobbying also, George. Yeah. In the case of Q36.5 and Tudor, for example, the two, in my opinion, what it's called Pro Team now anyway, Continental Pro. It's based on a lot of things. If you look, for example, Tudor was invited to the Giro last year, and guess who all of a sudden became the official timekeeping sponsor of the Giro? Tudor, the watch brand.
Well, so they were probably in a different order, but yes.
so there's a lot of politics involved, but I mean, you have to qualify. So it's not like just being a pro team. You have to be in the top 35 or top 40 of all the teams. So if you're just a small team and you're not in the top rankings, you also can't qualify for any of those races.
Yeah. Well, we have others to talk about, notably Mark Hirschi, Ben O'Connor. I think we have to spend a little time talking about Alaphilippe. And to your point a second ago, Johan, what that just means for them when it comes to having, a French Hall of Famer. I mean, we have to call it what it is. Has had a fantastic career. Perhaps best days are behind him, but he's still Julian Alaphilippe. I'm also curious too how some folks have these run-ups or they know their contract's coming up and they know they want to get a new, as you said, 3-year deal. How they respond, right? When they've got the new deal and they're in a new environment, just how they respond. I'm curious about that. But before we do, today's show also brought to you by AG1. I tell y'all all the time, and I mean it. I start every day with AG1. It's real simple. And not only just when it comes to AG1, but also other lifestyle choices. I've just decided the last year of my life to take control of my health, whether it's habits, lifestyle, supplements. I get a lot of questions too about what supplements I'm interested in or I take on a daily basis. The answer is always the same. I really don't take any, right? My most consistent ones are Ketone IQ, which we just talked about, but one that never leaves the kitty, so to speak, is AG1, whether I'm at home, got it stored up in the fridge. And if I'm on the road, which of course I travel all the time, never leave home without my travel packs. It's simply the best way for me, I think, to take control of my health. And it's also, check this out, it's an interesting time of the year. Here we are, mid-December. We all know what January means for so many people. Resolutions come into play, gym memberships go up. This is the month where people say it's a bit of a reset for folks. So while I don't know that I will necessarily have a total reset in January, I'm just going to keep running the play that I've been running the last year, which of course includes AG1. So it is a new year. Now try AG1 for yourself. It's the perfect time to start a new healthy habit. AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. Now, I'm not sure how we came up with 76, but it's a $76 free gift. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. Make sure to check out drinkag1.com/themove to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/themove. Get your free $76 gift when you sign up. Last one of the day. Today's show brought to you by Tushy. I love this brand. They've been partners of ours for a while, but the reality is I actually was a consumer of this brand years ago. And it all started with my wife, who always wanted one of these gazillion-dollar toilets to do all these fancy things. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, and I was like, no. I channeled my inner George. I said, no, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. Right, George?
I guess so. Yeah.
No, I saw it on Instagram, and this Tushy bidet is the perfect alternative. You don't have to spend a gazillion dollars. And here's the thing, totally easy to install. If I can install this thing, and it took me probably all in less than 15 minutes. I think that's even the upper range. So if you've been wanting to upgrade your bathroom or grab the perfect gift for anyone on your list, now is the time. The Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing or electricity. That is the truth. I can tell you because I did it as a consumer. Give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everyone in your household. Head on over to hellotushy.com/TheMove to grab your deal before it's gone. And don't forget to give us a shout out while you're there and let them know that we sent you. Go to hellotushy.com/TheMove for the best gift this holiday season. George, it's actually a good gift for you. Give Mel, everybody.
You got my address.
And they have all this science around the spray and how it cleans. I don't want to get into it. Not with you guys. It's probably not too long before we have the Hello Tushies in team buses. You imagine that? Never mind.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
No,
it isn't a bad idea. Okay. Let's talk about the other big ones. But by the way, Ben O'Connor, we point him out a lot because he was featured in the Netflix series, and but it's almost like he watched it, right, and didn't love his portrayal, and he said, "Well, I didn't love that very much." He had an answer, and he came back strong as hell. I'm curious too. Maybe this is a good time to weave in the finances. What do you think that cost Jayco Alula? Is that an expensive transfer? What give the folks a sense for what these guys are getting paid?
I don't know. Do you have any info, George? I mean, I know, for example, we all know Pogacar just signed a new deal for $8 million. That's the highest paid rider. Then we have
as he should be.
Yeah, of course. And he should make at least double of what the second highest paid rider makes. Then, I was surprised to hear what Pidcock was making. I think $5 million is a big number for, yes, he is a huge talent, but the results on the road are not in comparison with what we think he can do. $5 million.
Well, hold on one second. Aren't you buying? I mean, one could argue that you're buying three riders in one.
Well,
what does the best mountain biker in the world make?
That would be Nino Schurter, right?
Right. So he's making seven figures. So you see what I'm saying? Like you got this package deal. Let's not forget. I mean,
that's true, but I don't think that was the on the wish list of Ineos to have a mountain biker and a cyclocross rider. They're a road team. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys saw. Interesting fact is that Pidcock goes to Q36.5. They're riding Scott bikes, but in cyclocross and mountain biking, he stays on Pinarello,
of course,
which is owned by the owner of Q36.5. So it's a win-win for that guy too. But in terms of Ben O'Connor, I would guess. I mean, let's not forget he's number 4 in the world.
Yeah.
So it is above 2 million for sure. If you look, Vingegaard, Roglic, Van Aert, Van der Poel, they're making somewhere between 3 and 4 million. I don't think Ben O'Connor makes that mountain, but definitely north of 2 million, 2.5.
So Johan, and deals like
0.5, she's 2.5 million. He's number 6 in the world, and Alaphilippe reportedly makes at least the same, if not more, than he was making at Soudal Quickstep. So that's also 2.5 or more.
So these guys that we have on behind you there. Simon Yates, Ben O'Connor. They're going to teams that are not known for the top 4 or 5 budgets in the Pro Tour. They're more mid-range budgets. Is this something where, we get a chance to get a guy like Ben O'Connor, like they got to go dip back into their sponsors and say, look, we need a little bit more money for this, because I don't think they just have that money laying around. But if they can bring somebody like that to the table, perhaps, now that Jacob's got Alula, which probably has a lot more money, they can probably justify that sort of expense. But Jumbo, Visma Lisa bike, I mean, apparently they didn't have much of a budget going in. Of course, they do everything they can with their budget, but clearly a guy like Simon Yates is not going to be cheap. They must have to go to these companies and say, we need a couple more million to get these guys.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at Jayco Alula, it's basically that Simon Yates was making 2 million or more also. Yeah. So trade-off, right? They change. In terms of Visma Lisa bike, I don't know what their budget is. I mean, they have a big budget, but and I don't actually know who's leaving there. They got quite a substantial amount of money for Roglic leaving last year, because he still had a contract. So Bora was paying. So maybe they used some of that money to hire Simon Yates.
And a lot of these teams, or a lot of these riders, not a lot, but some of the riders will actually go to a team like Visma Lease bike because of their history and their helping elevate the levels of other riders in the past, because of how much emphasis they put in science and nutrition and training. They'll take a little bit less money to go to a team like that, to have those sort of tools to help them grow in the sport, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at Tudor, for example, I think if Hirschi goes there and Alaphilippe goes there, Tudor is definitely a team that's on the up. And the way they're hiring a lot of staff from really qualified staff from other teams. So I don't think that at that level there's that much of a difference anymore in the teams.
By the way, everybody's favorite, or a lot of people's favorite, Victor Campenaerts, heading to Visma Lisa bike.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see.
I don't know. I bring it up because I do think it's interesting. He's a bit of a character, and I can see a world where he's very useful on that team.
He was there already, by the way. He was riding for Lotto Jumbo in the past. He went to, I think from Lotto Jumbo, he went to what was it called? Doug Ryder's team before. Was it MTN Quebeca or something?
Yep.
He went to then he went to Lotto, or did he go somewhere else? Anyway, interesting. You guys seem to like. I'm not a fan of Victor Campenaerts, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. I'm a fan. His stage win was incredible. It feels like the guy maybe works as hard as anybody else, but we need to give Spencer Martin a shout out for giving us these detailed notes. And he did mention the biggest losers. One of the biggest losers was Team Lotto, losing a guy like Campenaerts, and the other guy on your list, Johan, was Maxim Van Gils. So we'll talk about what's going on in their minds right now. How can they let these guys go, and how are they trying to offset these losses?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lotto is a very special team. Here we definitely speak of a limited budget, and on top of that, they are losing Destiny next year, so they're losing a sponsor of 6 million. Lotto apparently has upped their budget and tried to compensate that a little bit, but it was a numbers game. Maxim Van Gils, the story is that he had a contract. He had re-signed the contract at the beginning of 2024 after a really good season last year, and this year he had an amazing season. Actually, he was top 5 in a lot of different races. He was third in Strade Bianche, fourth in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. He was up there in all those races that really suit him. And surprisingly, he signed a deal in March or something, a new 2-year deal or 3-year deal, and then he changed agents all of a sudden after signing this contract. He was making 500,000 to 600,000 euros a year, and all of a sudden he said, "Okay, we want to talk. I need to renegotiate my contract." It always makes me laugh, when I would like to, have your guys' opinion on it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be different than mine, but you see these young guys with these agents. They negotiate, and they push for multi-year deals, 2-3 years, and so because they want a guarantee. And then all of a sudden, if they perform, they want to break open their contract. Now, why has it never happened the other way? If they don't fulfill their expectations, why does a team doesn't have the option to renegotiate the contract? Anyway, in this case here, Maxim Van Gils said, okay, they did the research. He hired Alex Carrera, who is the agent of the agent of Pogacar, also the agent of Kian Uitenbroeks, who actually broke his contract with Bora last year to go to Visma. So they did the same operation the other way around now. Van Gils said, okay, I terminate my contract. In Belgium, there is an old law of 1978 that gives any employee the right to terminate their contract if they compensate their employer with the remainder of their compensation. In this case, since Van Gils was making 500, so it's probably like $1 million, which was left on the 2-year deal. And the figures I've seen is that he's going to Bora, to Red Bull Bora, and will make 2.4 million euros a year, which to me sounds like extremely high for. Yeah, he is a big talent, but he's not at the level of these guys who make that kind of money yet. So. It's difficult to imagine. I mean, if you're in his shoes and all of a sudden you can make that amount of money for 2 or 3 years, I can understand that you want to terminate your contract. But it only works in one direction.
So, Johan, a team like that, sorry, Lance, a team like Red Bull Bora, making that sort of investment in a guy like Maxime Van Gils indicates that now they want to put a heavy emphasis on the one-day races. Would you agree with that? And they've said it recently in the press that they're, going all in for sort of a whole year approach to getting wins. So it's interesting that they got somebody like that, and he could be a guy that can perform well in a race like Tour of Flanders or, these one-day hard races.
Yeah, they also signed Oyer Lascano from Movistar, who was, by the way, also a guy that, you need to write that name down because he's going to be very present in the final of those races. He was already this year, but on a team like Movistar, a bit more difficult. But on Red Bull Bora, he will be there.
Yep. And that's a rarity. Having a Spanish guy in the finals. It's been a minute since, I don't know, when did Juan Antonio Flecha race? A long time ago.
Back in our time.
Yeah, in our day. 2 things before we get out of here. One, because I just want to make sure we cover this because we get so many questions about up and coming Americans and the status of American cycling. Any interesting that y'all know? Any interesting American transfers? It doesn't seem like the ones we tend to talk about are staying.
Larry is leaving Decathlon. Larry Warbassi going to Tudor, which I feel like that's a great opportunity for him to actually finally make the Tour de France team if they get selected. He's got experience. He's sort of a veteran cyclist now. Hard to say because I mentored him as a young kid. But I'd love to see him make the Tour de France. I thought that was a great signing, especially since he didn't really know where he was going. I rode with him in September, and he wasn't sure if he was going to even continue racing. So for him to get that shot at Tudor, I think could be a game changer for his career, and hopefully we see him racing the Tour this year.
He's level-headed. You're right. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want.
And then we have the well-known published case now of, we don't know if he's going to get a contract or not, but this Canadian guy, Jack Burke. Do you know anything about him, George? The guy who broke all those Strava records of Alpe d'Huez, Stelvio, and Montreal.
Oh, yeah. I don't know anything about that, but that's pretty wild. The times he's doing. There's another Canadian kid that's actually training here in Greenville that's breaking all the records here as well. That's doing the esports Zwift thing. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some more Canadian names coming out.
So what is this Jack Burke guy doing?
These
aren't overpasses. Stelvio, Alpe d'Huez. What else is he?
And Mortirolo.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty impressive. We talked at length about it with Spencer Martin in the Move Plus the other day. Of course, it's a one-off attempt, right? It's not after a race but I checked out some of his rides, and it was very, very recently. So it was super cold. The day he broke the Alpe d'Huez Strava record, it was Sepp Kuss who had it. It's not the record, the all-time record, but it's the Strava record. And he did it on his own with, it was 5 degrees at the bottom and 0 degrees at the top when he did that US record. So pretty impressive, I have to say.
Yeah.
All right. And then before we get out of here, of all these big names, and I know you have 4 there behind you, Johan, but let's call it 5 with Alaphilippe. Mm-hmm. What ends up being the best transfer for a team? Like who performs the best of all of them? Who's the best? The best. Who was the smartest acquisition this offseason?
I think, in my opinion, it's Simon Yates.
I agree with that.
Simon Yates.
Totally. Yeah. For what he does for the program, maybe not. As we've talked about, not the guy that gets you into certain races. That's worth something. Then there's the guy that potentially wins the race. That's also worth something. But consistently over the course of the season, what he does for the team.
Well, and let's not forget the injuries these guys had last year. I mean, the guys that they lost, Sepp Kuss was sick. Steph Kreiswijk, their climbers, basically, except for Matteo Jorgensen, were all hurt or injured. So now if you throw in Simon Yates, Matteo Jorgensen, the rest of these climbers, I mean, they could have 4 or 5 guys in a group of 10. And these last, these queen stages of the Grand Tours now, I think it's a great move.
Yeah, but then the question is, George, does it matter?
Yeah,
that's took the words out of my mouth.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Is was on another level. It's going to be. I'm curious to see because one season like this, it's not easy to replicate. Something can happen. It's not.
Don't you just have this? I'm not getting in line to bet against it. I mean, my spidey sense is like, here we go again. Like and I'm with you. Like you could hire. I'm going
to bet against it. I'm going to bet against it. Can I say why? I know we talked about this many times, but what we saw him go through, why can't I think of his name right now? My goodness. Jonas Vingegaard, what he went through last year. I mean, didn't touch his bikes for 6 weeks. Yes, he said he did his best power numbers ever, but that's got to affect you. I mean, that's got to, for sure, for him to bounce back from that, having won the Tour de France 2 times, bounce back from arguably a career-ending injury to getting second place in the Tour. This has got to give some hope to him and the team, and I'm hoping for some closer battles next season.
Aren't we all? It will be closer. It will be closer, but I honestly think that Pogacar is still improving.
Yeah.
Vingegaard is working hard. I just saw a little video. I'm actually Wednesday. I'm going that way with my son and 2 of his mates to Calpe. Vingegaard is doing intervals on Col de Rots right now, flying up that mountain.
Yeah, you guys constantly give me shit about how much I ride. I'm curious to see the Strava stats of old Johan Brunel's 2024 season, because I feel like you probably have more than all of us this year.
I think I have more than you, George.
Well, wait, but to go back to this, you guys you're going to go over to Calpe in Spain and stalk Jonas Vingegaard?
No, absolutely not. Listen, first of all, that area, 16 of the 18 World Tour teams are there now or will be there over the winter. So it's the place to be. No, we're just going on our own. We have a little place there we can stay, and we're just going to go 4 days just to ride it before we go off to Belgium for Christmas.
For the holiday. But by the way, I think Christian should go out there on the Col de Rots. Well, just...
he will definitely
just hang on the wheel as long as I want to know how long. Not long.
500 meters.
That's 500 meters. That's a long time. I would jump over the moon to hang on his wheel for 500 meters.
The Col de Rat is actually the race, the place where Vingegaard was discovered.
Yeah, right. We remember.
They have his amateur team. They do a test there every year, and every year they try to break the record. Last year they had a young guy, I forgot his name now, but he's already on Ineos for the future. So every year they go back there, and Jonas is still out there, already putting the hard miles in.
I'm with both of you. I don't think it matters, but I hope it does. Let's hope it does. Yeah. And I'm also with you, Johan. I think Pogačar still has some improving to do. And this is the story we constantly tell this younger generation. By the way, too, Spencer did do some interesting analysis on the average age of these transfers, or the way the teams are evolving. That's a real trend. Like, the sport is just getting younger and younger. So we'll see where this intersects with what Pogačar is now, or, a ripe old age of 26, maybe
26. Yeah.
Yeah. 20 years ago, you'd have thought he's just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God. All right, everybody. We'll see you back here again for the Up and Comer show, which is as I said, I think to our members in the pre-show, I love that show just because this is where Johan, he always shows that he's a genius, but I like he does with those Up and Comers. Jeez. You got a list already?
I'm working on it. I added one today, actually, to the list.
How many, on your list, if you did the show tomorrow, how many you got on the list?
7 for the moment.
That's pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah.
And his hit rate, folks, you can go back. You can just listen to all the other years of the Up and Coming show. The hit rate's pretty high. Pretty high. Yeah. And that will be, is that after the holidays?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if
2025.
Okay. So if we don't talk to any of y'all before that, have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that stuff. And thanks for tuning in.
And we'll have, by the way, every week we have an overview of the weekly news, Spencer and I, on the Move Plus.
The Move Plus. Check it out.
We keep going.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.